Hi, my name's Brendan. I'm with Family and Piano Co. at our Golf Mill location where we just launched our electronic music department. So we've got here a great selection of some of the best MIDI tools out there on the market. So what I'd like to do is do a quick comparison of what we carry here, both in terms of some of the pad controllers, and we also have some keyboard controllers on our wall. Each one of these we could spend quite a bit of time with, so I'm going to briefly go over some of the ideas here. I'm going to assume that you don't necessarily know much about electronic music making. Our goal here is to make all of this stuff seem not scary and easy to get into. We have all of these on the wall available for you to touch and play with, for us to take it off the wall and plug it in and show you how to use it and help answer your questions. So without further ado, I'd like to dive into Ableton Live. This is the main piece of software used for electronic music making nowadays. And it's pretty powerful, but you can get into it in a pretty simple fashion. So for example, this is how you traditionally would set things up, is you would have these tracks, and we were playing around a little earlier, and we have a piece of track here you can play around with. But what you can also do is you can arrange concepts in a grid-based fashion, which is what some of these pieces of hardware are designed to make your job easier. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into a little bit here. We've got right now this is designed to play some of the notes here. So each one of these goes up an octave, and it's all based on a scale. So this note is the same as this note right here, the purple. And so the color coding in a lot of these devices help communicate information. So that's a little bit different than traditional music notation where color doesn't make a difference. Here, it communicates quite a bit. And as you spend time with the instrument, it becomes kind of a second nature. It's actually very intuitive, a lot of these devices here. So basically, we can do a little bit of some basic recording here. So I'm going to go ahead. Now I recorded a little too much here, but you can kind of hear this. So, and then there's some dead space. So I'm going to kind of quickly go ahead and edit that down to something like this. So it's just a 2-bar measure. And now when I play this back, top here, I apologize. So now this will loop properly, and we can go ahead and record something else here, something maybe a similar concept. Something like that, just something kind of funky. Kind of edit this down to the 2 bars here. But it doesn't have to be just melodic notes like that. We can actually go in to, we loaded up a drum beat right here. Drum kit. So you can do some pretty cool, now that's just out of the box. So you can edit all of these sounds immensely, and that's one of the powers of the digital audio workstation, the DAW, that is Ableton Live, is there's a lot of control here. But if we go in and we wanted to record, something while this is playing. So we're going to stop here. And then we can kind of edit this back down a little bit. So we can bring this kind of up here, so where it kind of starts, and then bring this down a little bit and see if this kind of lines up a little bit. And while this is playing, so there's a lot of ways you can use the mouse and the keyboard here with your computer But a lot of the goal of the hardware is to make it so you don't have to. So we can go into the session mode right here. And kind of have some of these played back where you launch all of the clips. So when you kind of build up a pretty elaborate song, I'm not going to go through it all here, but you can build up clip after clip after clip after clip and put them on here so that you can kind of mix and match different pieces of the song and do some pretty incredible things. So that's a lot of what you'll see in electronic dance music, the EDM shows, DJ music, is you're going to have something like this, which is the Launchpad X. Now there's the smaller version and there's a bigger version that just came out we don't have quite yet. So the Launchpad X is one of the nice things about all of these in general is that because there's no sounds on board, you have to plug them into your computer in order to have the software generate the sound and whatnot. You get all the flexibility of working with the computer. Because there's a lot less under the hood than what you might expect, the price is actually a lot less. So I normally don't discuss prices in these types of videos, but because a lot of our discussion is going to be based on kind of value, trade-offs on a lot of these instruments. I am going to talk about the street price. A lot of these, as of today, which is early April 2020, this is what the street prices are. They might go up, they might go down, depending on how things go. But as a point of reference, this right now is retailing typically for $199. So you can do an incredible amount with launching clips across this, choosing different notes with melodic instrument, doing different drum beats, recording with it, and having a lot of fun. So this is the Launchpad X. The Launchpad Mini right here. This is one that's a little smaller, and this one is incredible, $99.99. So less than $100 for something that does a lot of this. It's smaller keys, but we can actually go in, and I'm gonna go ahead and pull up some of the synth stuff. So this is not going to give you quite as much control as this one does. There's some kind of cool features that allow you in note mode here to go ahead and change how the keys are arranged. So now you only need 2 keys to play a whole scale, or maybe 3 notes. Or 5 notes, and you can also change which key it's in and what kind of scale it is. So you can do an incredible amount of control here, but you can still do some of the basic stuff here on the Launchpad Mini. So this is for the $99.99. Also comes with the Ableton Lite. So these two are both part of the same family here. So far we've been talking about Ableton, and in here you can go ahead and choose a crazy variety of different drum sounds, some different, a huge number of instruments. As you go through, it'll actually preview the sound for you, which is kind of a really nice touch as you're trying out different instruments and picking a sound that you really like. And then maybe I want to put this right here. And then on here, there's different controls for controlling that sound. So on here, you might have more control for knobs and adjustments of these. So when we look at things that have a lot of knobs, a lot of levels, that'll help you control the sound without necessarily going in and fiddling with it yourself. So this is the Ableton Live that comes with it. Now there's another brand that we carry, which is Native Instruments, and I alluded to, they have the Machine Jam. We've got the Machine Micro right here. There's the Machine itself, which is a little bit bigger, and that's kind of a standalone studio beat maker kind of option. And one of the nice things about Machine is that it doesn't just play nicely with Live, which it does, but they also have their own software. So in the Machine software itself, Machine 2, it's going to be similar in many ways to the Ableton, but it's all integrated, and it comes with a huge amount of different sounds and projects. So whereas with Ableton I was kind of starting from scratch, there's a lot of really cool projects that we can go in. I'm going to load up this particular song, and just right out of the box we can go ahead and have some pretty cool music to start with. We can go in and edit a lot of these pieces. So this is going to be the Machine 2 software that controls these. And because it's so tightly integrated, we can actually go in and you can see the two of them kind of interact with each other. So you can kind of see there's levels here. So I hit right here, and you can kind of see the levels on the device here. So so I can use this slider. It's a touch capacitive slider. So you can actually do some pretty cool things with these sliders as we're going through and using this as a mixer, going through. And these are going to be the bigger pads, so you can do better finger drumming. The other kind of cool thing about this is we can take a sound. Let's just say this one right here. I'm going to go into keyboard mode. It actually takes that sound, and then each one of these is a separate step. So you can make almost any percussive sound or any other sound in here into a sound that your keyboard you can play this kind of like a keyboard. And then if you note here, there's just a ton of buttons for going ahead and manipulating your sound as you're playing. So this is great for being able to put in just adjusting a lot of these sounds. You can shift and then some more variation on there. So this is something that you get a lot with it. So I took home the Machine, and I'm learning all of this myself right now. The Machine Micro, haven't had a chance to play too much with, but it's very similar in many regards to the main machine that we're experimenting with. So the Machine Jam here helps you launch clips like the Launchpad. You can play it, once you get very, very small pads here, but you get the sliders that you don't have on the Launchpad, a lot of these tracking controls for playing, recording, tempo, grid, solo, mute, a lot of these things that are really, really nice. So instead of the $199 here, the Native Instruments Machine Jam that this guy is $299. So for an extra $100, you get a lot, including this giant knob for selecting sounds, note repeats, just a ton of things you can do with this, and a bunch of software. So Native Instruments has a ton of great software in terms of a bunch of great sounds, a bunch of great plugins that you get with each purchase, and you can also add to it very easily through their website. And some of the management stuff that comes with it. So they're kind of a hardware and software together company. Novation has some great hardware that plays well with pretty much everything, but they kind of built it from the ground up, centered around Ableton. The Machine Micro here is $269. So $269, $299 for these two guys. And then the full-born Machine that I was referencing earlier is $649. It's very powerful, has a nice screen, and is very, very intuitive to use. So those are a couple here. Now, if you don't want to necessarily plug into software and you want to be able to just have fun, easy on the go, something like the Novation Circuit is a really, really good option. So this is one that I have plugged in currently, but you can actually, here we go, you can actually plug in, you can actually do batteries on here, and you don't have to plug it in. It can be good to go. And this is one that's actually standalone. There's memory on board, and you don't have to learn any software. So on here, we can go ahead and... So there's a synth and a second synth, and then we have some drum parts here. So we can adjust some of the filter cutoffs, so you can have some real fun with it. So, and then we can put in drums for for trying some of these things out, and we're gonna play with that in a little bit when we kind of, but there's a full-born sequencer on here. So what I can do is I can just hit play. And so for each one of these steps, there's something going on. And so each one of these, you have notes tied to a specific spot in time. So you kind of go through sequentially the moments in time, and the notes that are tied to those, and that's why it's called a sequencer, is you're sequencing the notes. So even if you're not a great player, you can conceptually get your ideas out very effectively. So this is one that's great for being able to plug in headphones, being able to plug this into other sound. So there's some DJs who will have this on stage. So this is kind of a fun one to dive into. And this is one that's also very, very affordable. The Novation Circuit is $329 for something that's totally standalone, and you can just plug and play, have in your backpack, run around with. Another one that's standalone, and this one also has a tiny built-in speaker, is we got this Akai MPK Mini Play. So this has the mini keys on it, very, very small keys. And you can go ahead, it has a little joystick on it, and we can adjust some of the filters and reverbs and everything with it. So this is one that's just a ton of fun, and this is one right here where if I recall correctly, it is $139 for something like this, and it has the pad, so you can actually launch clips, play notes down here, and you can actually have this play drum parts and have this down here play melodic parts with an arpeggiator and a ton of cool features on board. So the MPK Mini Play is a great option. This is just a drum pad right here. I'm going to go ahead and have it play the drum parts. So this is one that's designed just for finger drumming. And the Akai is very proud of their pads. So it doesn't have the RGB pads of this, of all these different colors for communicating information. This is really, you just lay out the 4x4, the 16 different drum parts that you want, and you're just playing. And there's a couple more controls here for adjusting sound, and you can play with this if you want, but this is the focus. And that's part of the reason why the price is so reasonable on this. This is the MPD 218, and actually we had kicking around here for training purposes when you're getting everything set up, the old MPD 18. So this has kind of come a long way since then. The MPD 218 is $119 for purchasing this right here. Next up, we have the MIDI Mix, and this is pretty cool. So you can't really play this, but this is designed to work in conjunction with other instruments. I'm not going to rig up everything for this, but what you can do is if you have like a digital piano that doesn't have a lot of the controls that a MIDI instrument might have, you can go ahead and use this to control different volume levels, control whether it's playing or not, to mute it, let's go ahead and record with this. So this gives you kind of more of a hardware option to go with this. And this one does come with Ableton Live Lite, and this one's $99 right here. So the same price as getting the software. You get the software and a piece of hardware that's helpful. It's a piece of utility kind of in the mix of everything else. And this is the one that does not come with Ableton Live, but it's their little laptop keyboard. So the LPK 25, it's just a mini 25 keys. So this is kind of the most affordable thing that we've got that can, send data into the software. So for this little guy, it's $69 for this. So mini, tiny, designed to be kind of in your backpack. So that's a quick overview of some of the more desktop kind of oriented ones right here. I want to show you real quick, we've got on our wall, we've got a wall of MIDI controllers. So we're a piano store. Most of the stuff here is going to have piano keys on it. But until you plug it in, you're not going to hear anything. It's plugged in, but it's not in the computer. So this series here, basically everything we're looking at is going to be 61, 49, 25 keys. These are kind of very standard sizes. A full-size piano is going to be 88 keys. So for this series, this is the V series, so the V61, the V49, V25 for Alesis. These are going to be kind of price point instruments. Let me grab my little cheat sheet right here. And these are real affordable. So for the V61, 169, 129, and 89 for instruments here. So great price point, but you do have a couple pads off to the side. So a 2x4 setup here, and you can kind of go up and down. So you can go up an octave, go down an octave. So you can still hit all the keys of an 88 key instrument, but physically just have fewer keys, and it's the same interface for all of them. The next one is the VI61, VI49, and VI25. This is going to have more pads, so it's going to have the full 4x4 of like the drum beat guys. So you've got that plus all the keys here, which is nice. And then you can actually map these to different parameters up top here. So you've got a lot of buttons, a lot of control here. Octaves, play, stop. Some more tracking than you do have on the previous series. So for this, we've got the 279, 229, 179 for this Alesis series. Next up is the Novation Launch Key series. So this is kind of in conjunction with the Launchpad series. The Launch Key is obviously going to have keys on them, and this is kind of the centerpiece. So for the 61 and 49 key, you actually have 8 different controls for the different channels. So if you're going to have some different synth stuff going here, and some strings and some pads and some brass, you can control each one of these separately with these 8 sliders, plus a master slider right here. You can use these for playing drums if you want, or by pressing the in control, you can switch it to being in control of some of the parameters for the sounds. So if you're playing with a brass instrument, you can adjust some of the parameters so it sounds more synthy or more realistic, or however you want to tackle that. The Launch Key 25, just as a quick sidebar, it does not have the 8 sliders. It actually has 1 master slider, but no slider. So there's some features on the 25 that are not on the 49 and 61 key for looking at that. But fantastic price points. So right here, $249, $199, $149 right here. So you get a lot of bang for the buck with the Launch Key series. We're real happy with those. Novation has some really powerful controllers right here. So this is the SL series. It only comes in the 61 SL Mark III and the 49 SL Mark III. So Mark III just means 3rd generation. So you'll see that commonly in the industry, where you'll see, oh, this is the Mark II, this is Mark III. So for example, the Launchpad Pro that we're waiting to get our hands on, that's actually the Launchpad Pro Mark III. So 3rd generation 61 SL. And what's super cool about this is designed to do a bunch of great stuff with your software, but also with hardware. So on top, you have a bunch of controls here. So you've got some 5-pin MIDI, so you can actually plug into older keyboards, and you can plug in some different pedals. But you also have right here ways of doing CV, which is control voltage, which is what you need if you want to plug it into modular synthesizers. So there's some guys out there who love doing the hardware sense, where you buy little modules and you plug them all together, and you have these patch cords, and it's pretty nerdy, but really fun. You get to have very physical control of your sound without ever touching a piece of software. So this allows you to send information into these giant rigs, and control old keyboards that you might have, and plug into your software and be able to control the software as well. And this has a great sequencer on board, so you can go ahead and put in certain sounds into it. Now, I don't have it plugged into the computer, so I'm not going to be able to demonstrate this particularly well, but you can assign all these different notes into those moments in time, from anything that you've got plugged in. So if you've got it plugged into your modular synthesizers, it knows, okay, great, get your modular synthesizers going, get your software going. It's kind of the centerpiece for it. And you'll see you have these great lights here. And what's cool about this is we can actually set up these lights to do a bunch of different things. So on the synth, on step 1 here, I'm going to assign these 3 notes and they turn red. And then on this guy, I'm going to assign these guys. I'm just going to go ahead and apply some notes, but you can kind of see without me touching what notes I've assigned. And on this one, I'm going to take the 3rd out. Maybe I'll take the 3rd out there. And so you can edit these very, very simply as you're trying to arrange your ideas to the sequencer. Or there's also a scales mode where you can go ahead and we can adjust what kind of mode is going to show. So we're going to display only certain notes that are part of the scale. So it's not plugged in, it's not showing it properly, but you can use this to help learn your music theory, which is awesome. So I really, really like the light up, the lights above the keys, the sequencer, the ability to control a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of extra patterns and sessions, and this is a really, really powerful piece of hardware. So if you want to just skip over some of the more basic pieces of MIDI controlling equipment and just dive into kind of the one that you'll need for a long time, very powerful. The SL series is awesome. So this is $699 and this is $599 for these guys here. Back to Native Instruments here. We've got on board, they've got 2 series. They got the A series, so we've got the A61, A49, A25, and then we also have the S series. So I don't have the S49 or 61, but I do have the S88 that we'll look at here. So this is going to really, really tie into that machine software that I was showing you earlier, and a lot of the Native Instruments software ecosystem. So they keep the prices on these pretty reasonable by having a kind of a small screen, but some really nice buttons for controlling things as you're playing and interfacing with these. So the A61 is $279, $219, and $169. So you get some really good keyboard. You get some really good keyboard MIDI controllers at very competitive prices with a bunch of software and a bunch of great stuff that comes with it. So, and it's just really, really well built. I really like the matte finish. Everything just feels really solid on these heavily built, but not too heavy to carry around. So I really like these guys here. From M Audio, we've got the KeyStation 88. This is a full 88 weighted MIDI controller. So this is one that's, you don't see the 88 weighted very often, so we wanted to have that as an option for folks. So this is one that is, I forgot to put in my cheat sheet, but it's pretty darn reasonable for the M Audio guy right here. And then on the complete S88, this is also fully weighted 88 keys with the light up option with full integration into the machine software. 2 big screens here, a lot of the soft keys, and mute solo buttons, and just all the knobs, the big knob here for browsing. So this is pretty darn awesome. So this is bigger, as you can see, but the S88 is one of their best-selling models, and we've been real happy to have it here. I'm looking forward to taking some and trying some cool stuff out and being able to explain a little bit more about how this interfaces with the Native Instruments software. But you get a great piece of hardware, and I believe the complete select with it, which is like a $200 package of sounds, and just a bunch of great stuff from Native Instruments above and beyond what you get with the A series. So for the S88, this is $1,049, which is a really good deal. We have a lot of keyboards here, and that are about $1,000 that don't have half the features. Now, A lot of this is you have to plug it into your computer. We've got some digital pianos here that you don't have to plug into anything. You turn it on, they start playing. But for the MIDI instruments, these are pretty powerful. So thanks again for sticking with me, and we'll probably re-record this when we've had a chance to play with more of the equipment and I can kind of go through the details a little more, but we're happy to help you get started with the electronic music making. If you have any questions, please reach out. My email is Brendan, BRENDAN, @familypiano.com. You can also email us info@familypiano.com. Check out our website. Our phone number is 847-775-1988, and thanks for watching.